about resumes, we will go into why we need to use resumes, especially as students here at the college, and kind of go into some important do's and don'ts that you guys can all take into account when you will need to write your own resumes. So just to start off, I wanted to kind of ask the class, why do you think resumes are important, and what do you see yourselves using resumes for in the future? Chad?
Resumes, I think, are very important because that's a way to kind of showcase yourself and get your foot in the door for potential opportunities and jobs in the future.
Do you see, that's a really good point. I think the biggest thing that we would want to use resumes for is, to get job opportunities. And the best way to do it is, to really take the time to construct those resumes. So do you guys have any other things that you, just general thoughts about a resume? Have any of you guys made one before, or your general concerns about going ahead and making your own resume? Donald?
So I mean, I've made resumes before in high school, and they were interesting because I wasn't always sure how to word them correctly, and depending on who I was sending it to, I wasn't sure what would be the best things to highlight to make important on my resume.
That's a really good point. I think that once you're a college student, it's really easy to know who your target audience is for those resumes. So, for your class assignment, you will be using these resumes for the Resume Bonanza and Career Fair, and hopefully be able to use them for the rest of your college careers as well. So I think that, transitioning from high school to college, that's a really big difference. We know exactly who is going to be seeing these. So these are potential employers, various academic organizations here on campus. So, the point of resumes for us as college students is to highlight our professional and academic achievements. So just like the 30-second commercial, resumes are used as your personal marketing tool. And this is what, you have on paper, a hard copy of just showing why you would be a good candidate. And, and to put it in a better way, you're able to highlight your accomplishments and what you're really proud of. So next, let's move on to kind of some basic resume do's and don'ts. For this part of the discussion, I was hoping if someone would be willing to write some notes down as others in the class discuss. So would anyone want to do that? Thank you, Chad, for volunteering to do that. So just go ahead. We'll first go ahead and talk about some do's, and then we'll go into some don'ts. So can someone give me a resume don't that they think that would be really bad to put on a resume, would never think about putting it on a resume? A good example for this that I personally always never want to put on a resume is stuff that's really outdated. You want all of your information to be very current. And so that's something that I always think of. One of the first things is, just have present accomplishments. Does anyone have something else that they maybe wouldn't want to include? Yes.
I don't think I would want to put things that I weren't really valuable experience. So like things I couldn't really talk about if a recruiter were to ask me more details about it, like to talk about that story if it wasn't something I could fully have a discussion about. I'm not sure if that's something I'd want to put on my resume.
That's a really good point. I think that each of the points on your resume should bring up a conversation. You want to be able to at least hold a 30-second conversation, similar to a 30-second commercial, about whatever you're doing. If it's not something you can talk about, I really don't think it's something that should be on there. So now let's transition into some do's. Does anyone have some good resume do's they think that would be really good to put on? Yes, Matt?
I think you should always use a consistent formatting when you're making a resume.
Definitely. Formatting is key. Your content is obviously very important, but the first thing recruiters will look at is if it's in a neat format. You want it to be aesthetically pleasing, because even if you have your margins off a little bit, that could just throw a recruiter off, and you may be surprised they'll put it in the bad column. So I think these are some really good resume do's and don'ts. Does anyone have any questions? Resume Bonanza and Career Fair.